Well, hello. So I guess, Tom, I'm going to let you guide a little bit of this, but what I can do is I'll start off and tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about our agency. So our agency is here located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Our company name is NeoMark Digital Solutions. And basically, we are a very small digital marketing agency, basically consisting of two people, myself and my business partner, Ben. And basically, we do digital marketing, everything from building websites to do marketing, SEO, to AdWords, Google Words, anything that's digital on the internet, we pretty much deal with it. If we can't do it, we have partners and friends who can, and we can honestly do about 98% of all digital marketing out there in this world between the two of us and the partners we work with. And so that's a little bit about that. The way our company is structured, basically, I do a lot of the digital marketing side, and my business partner, Ben, does a lot of the coding. And he's known as a full stack developer. A full stack developer is a fancy way of saying he is the guy that does the back end of programming, does all the ins and outs, any kind of logic on a computer, that kind of thing. Ben does that kind of thing. And so anyway, just a little bit. So Tom and I, we worked with each other in the past, and he brought me in on the Corron Farms website, and we came up with this idea of maybe establishing a Divi theme for the website. And a theme is just a fancy way of saying it's like an interface and how you can build web pages, and it simplifies the process. Well, what I did was when I talked to Tom, I was like, Tom, why don't you have me just come up with an idea of the website based on what I've seen in the past, and let me just present to you the idea that I like doing this with my clients with a lot. And the reason why is because a lot of times when you get an outsider looking in, they can see things that they just give a different perspective. And right. I always find it's kind of a good way to interact and to kind of show what we do. And not only that, but I feel like I'm pretty good with I cannot say the word, compartmentalizing information and design. And that's kind of, so just a little background about me is I'm actually known as a front-end developer, which means I do everything you see on a website.
Right.
So and so I do the design, I do the coding and that kind of thing. So my areas of expertise is in design and coding and that kind of thing. And so basically what I did was I came up with an idea. And honestly, when I go to your website currently, there is a ton of wonderful information. And all I really did, I did two things. I just kind of put together the information into logical chunks, and I just made it a little, cleaner, made the fonts a little more presentable. And I just kind of really, I call it information hierarchy. I just really made that information so it's easily digestible for the reader, for them to scan and go through that. So kind of what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to go through the actual website page by page. If you have any questions at any time, just shout out and we'll stop and we'll just kind of go from there.
While you're setting this up, I'd like to give a little background for our board members that are not on the call. Okay. I reached out to Ryan because I had been involved with another project and stuff, so I knew him quite well and respected his work and seen his other work and what he's done for other clients. But meanwhile, you know, I've been working with the Corron Farm Preservation Society website, which we took over from Susan, and what she had developed, and trying to find different cheap, and I use the word cheap, website that were easy to use and host and all this kind of stuff. And I really came up with not very good solutions for what we needed, and reached out to Ryan. So that's why he's involved. He's not soliciting us. I solicited him and brought him into the picture. And the other thing I wanted to say about the you know, I wanted a website that we could manage ourselves. You know, that's something I could do. So what he mentioned the word divvy. That's for the company that, or the website that I've looked at, and I'm able to run with that and keep Ryan and additional costs out of the picture. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is I wanted a website succession plan. So if something happens to me, and I think Laurel too, you could handle this as well. But I hate to have the president.
Well, I think my term expires in April. I'm going to look at either my vice chair or his fiance.
Oh,
perhaps take over the chair duties.
Okay.
Fine leadership. I love it.
So anyway, it's something that we could carry on very easily ourselves. So, and then if there's some application that the board wants to do, Ryan is available at a very modest cost. And, I'm not here to take advantage of him. I don't want to do that, but,
don't either, Tom. It's not fair to have him doing work on our behalf and we are not paying him.
Right.
So we need to,
And I'll get into costs later on, how that works and how we break that down. But first, let me show you the website. And Tom, thank you for the very nice introduction. I will say that Tom is an absolute pleasure to work with, and he is one of my favorite people. Very kind and humble, and I enjoy working with Tom. And I hope to do more to work with you, Tom. So, all right, let me click share screen, and can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I have 4 screens on my computer, and sometimes I'm always scared I clicked the wrong one. Actually, that did happen with the presentation, and everyone was so nice. Nobody said anything. I was halfway in the presentation. They're like, "What are you showing us?" And I was like, "You don't see it." And I was like, "Why didn't you say something?" So anyway, this is your website. As you can see, the first thing I did was I kind of modernized your logo. And the thinking behind the logo was I liked what you had, but unfortunately it's not web friendly. And so you need to have something that's called in a vector format, and you want it to be simple. And the reason why you want logos to be simple today is because 65 to 70% of all users on the internet today are through mobile devices. And so you don't want people kind of putting the phone real close up to their face to see what your logo is and to read things. You want it to be very presentable and very clear and crisp. And one of the things I took your website and I did was I just made it really clean, and I gave it a lot of hierarchy to it. And so this is the way I have your navigation. And obviously I'm showing this in desktop version. I don't have a mobile version, but it's easy to imagine. All it is these items just stacked for mobile version.
Right.
But as you can see here, we just kind of go with a nice hero image. And then here is the video that I saw on your website that I believe, Tom, you're in that, I believe, or some other people. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've seen it.
That's probably Tom.
Yep. And then it would have the video here. And so the homepage serves one purpose in my mind, or 2 purposes in my mind. One is to brand you, to tell people where you're at. But 2, it's almost like a billboard to what your website offers. And so what I did was I kind of went through your website and I kind of found the various sections that I kind of like. And so the first and foremost, to me, the most important is you need to tell people, hey, who are you? That's what this is here. Then your information. What are you doing? What are the, what's going on? And then the next important part is about the about section, and about who you are and how you serve. And then what's going on. This is the events. And then finally, let's be honest, donate is a big deal. And so we need to have a nice, section just for encouraging people, hey, when you pay this money, this is what it goes to, and this is our cause, and please help contribute. And then down at the bottom is, we call this the footer. And the footer just has, it's basically the same items that they can control for navigation. Again, because we're going for mobile. When people are on mobile devices, we want them to make it so they don't have to scroll all the way up.
Right.
And then down here would be a sign up for email, and it would be on every page. So a footer is basically duplicated on every single page.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the next page. And this is your about page. Again, I like starting off with big, beautiful heroes. This is kind of a secondary photo. This kind of stuff. So at the end of this meeting, I'm going to send you a link to this XE design, in which your group can click on the link, and I'll actually walk you through it really quick right before we're done with this. And that way, the meeting, you guys can just look at this at your leisure and kind of see what you've done. And again, I'm kind of working a little bit out of the box. I'm the outsider looking in, so I kind of took the elements that I found interesting, and I kind of developed lay out the page to tell the story. And so as you can see here, this is telling the story, and then I like the idea, the tour's history, education, and just kind of giving little snippets all about your cause and all about how you serve. Next is the news. All right, so the news page. So again, there's a little bit of dummy type, and I'm not going to get in overly complicated. I'm going to try to simplify the language as much as possible. So what this is actually called, in the web world, we call this a blog. And what a blog is it's just a series of information that has the time and date of what, and it allows you to easily control it. And so what's cool about it is this is considered dynamic, which basically means that when there is an event, you put the event in, and then when it's done, you say the end date, or you can leave it in there forever. The beauty is when the event starts, this pops up. When the event is over, it dynamically goes away. You don't need to update it. And so the beauty is you just do this once and you never have to do it again. And if you want it up all the time, you can do that. If you want to take it down, you can do that. No problem. Everything is dynamic on this page. So obviously I left this, this is called dummy copy, dummy type, just to give you an idea. This is what it will look like. It would obviously have an image and a picture. And then when they click on read more, it would just have more listings of the event if they want to see it or not. And that's pretty much it for this page. I'm going kind of quick. Any questions?
I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I'm with you.
Okay, fantastic. Next, we have the events page. Now, the events page, in my opinion, is different than the information, because the news pages, this is kind of like what's cool, what's going on. This is more active. Like this is how we're inviting people to come join us. And so that's what this page is. And this page is a little bit different. It would probably have one thing I didn't add, which I should have, is this would have like a time and date of the announcements and that kind of thing. But again, it would just be a very brief overview and that kind of thing. And so then what I was thinking, well, okay, that makes sense. How can we else accommodate the page? Well, let's do a gallery of past events. That seems to make sense to have that on the event page. And so what this would be is this would be a slider of like past events, and they would click on the arrows, and then they would see various photos, kind of the way it is currently on your website. And again, a day in a life at Corn Farms, exact same thing. They just click on each side and they can view the gallery. So, I mean, this kind of gives you the whole thing. This tells you, hey, this is what's going on currently. This is the current, this is the future. This is kind of the past. This is take a look back of some of the Next page, we have the contribute, and the contribute is probably the most important page. And so to me, it's always important when I give money towards an organization or something, a nonprofit, I want to make sure that it's going to what I believe in. And so I believe it's important to tell, what are your ongoing projects? What are the projects that are completed? And again, this would be a slideshow of various types of images related to that. And again, they can see the ongoing progress. That way they can see it when they're like, oh, okay, I get it. And then here are some other donations. And basically I took this off your current website because honestly, you don't want to set up a commerce back end because it's just expensive. It's overdone. People are more than familiar with PayPal. And so they can just click the buy it now buttons and we can easily implement those. And it also made sense to put your historical resources that you have on your website on this page as well, because it's money driven, but it's also additional information and it allows them to purchase the books to further, you know, the cause and further information that people can learn about the, what is it, Kane County, I believe, and just the history behind that. All right, and then we have, finally, we have the contact page. And contact page, believe it or not, it's important to users, but really, if we're being completely honest, it's most important to Google. Google likes contact pages because Google likes the idea that people can contact you if there needs to be any further information. So this page is just kind of, you know, phone, email, where are you at? And then it would have a dynamic Google Maps right here, which would show the pinpoint location of where you're at. And then the last page of your website is called a 404 page. Now you're probably wondering, what in the world is this? Well, it's a dog. A 404 page is basically, it's if somebody accidentally types in your link to your website that doesn't exist, this page comes up. So our firm, we're notorious for having funny 404 pages because we think it's kind of funny that you missed it. And so we always like to be tongue in cheek, you know, just a little humorous and just to say, hey, this page doesn't exist. And then they just click back to home and guided back to the home page. That's pretty much your website. I tried really hard to simplify things, but to create hierarchy within the website. Yes. So the user can easily navigate through the website, understand your cause, understand your news, your events, and then if they want to contribute, they can, or if they want to participate with an event, they can definitely do that as well. So, okay, so then let's talk. All right, so Tom, I'm going to switch this out just on you just a little bit.
Okay.
So you can certainly do this, as I was thinking about this, we can certainly do this website in Divi as we talked about. But there's another option we could do. Another option is we could do what's called, it's called, we would create a custom theme, which basically means we build your theme custom to exactly your needs. And we would use a framework called Bootstrap. And then we would use another framework called ACF, which stands for Advanced Custom Fields. And what that is when you create a custom theme, the beauty of doing that is that, and technically, if somebody goes in the back end of Divi, Tom, they can break it. Like they can accidentally delete something. And then, and honestly, if they do it, it's not that big a deal. We can always go back a previous day and restore the website. But what we can do with a Bootstrap framework along with a ACF is we can lock down the entire website so the user can go in on the back end and safely update changes without worrying about breaking the page. And it's a more controlled environment. And that is certainly an option. We could do that as well. Honestly, from a development standpoint, it would be about the same. So you can decide, Tom, I'm gonna let you decide how you want to do that. The upside to having it with this method is that the upside is it's secure. The only thing you have to worry about is the type and the images. And the beauty is somebody could accidentally upload this humongous image and the theme is smart enough to understand that, oh, wait a minute, that picture doesn't need to be that big. And rather than making the picture the entire width of the website, it's smart enough to know, oh, it's meant for this area. And it actually puts it correctly in that position. And so it always ensures that your website's gonna look really good, really professional all the time. And there's very little worry or fuss. The downside is it's a little more locked down, which basically means that down the road, if you want to create a new page, it's a few more steps to create the page. And that page builder that you saw in Divi would not be there. And so it would require a little bit of us involved to build that page.
Yeah.
And so those are the trade-offs. And I'm going to leave it up to you, whatever you want to decide. But I will tell you this: if you have people, I generally recommend Bootstrap and ACF for people who are not technology people, and where it kind of scares them, because Divi, honestly, you can break this. Like, what I mean by break the site, you can't break the site. You can just break the layout. And so this ensures that the layout never gets broken. And so it really allows us to lock it in. But then, you know, as anything in
Your 404 page is barking.
yeah, 404. So yeah, so that's that. And again, Tom, it makes no difference to me, whatever you decide. The development time would be about the same. The funny thing is if we do it through Bootstrap, it would take me longer to code the site, but the CSS, the actual manipulation of it, would be less. If it was done through Divi, the layout would be really quick, but then the actual customizing would take longer. But at the end of the day, they're both the same. I'm going to let you decide. And
Okay.
So that's how that goes. Okay, so let's talk costs. And so
before you do that, explain what you've done already for us as far as the hosting website, the CorronFarm.org.
yeah. So oh, do you mean are you talking about the temporary domain that we created?
Yeah.
Yes. So what we did is we created a temporary domain that has Divi on it, that allows anyone to build the page through the custom page builder. And so basically, but because this design is a little more sophisticated compared to what the Divi can do, a lot of CSS has to be written to give you this look of this particular page.
With the Divi.
With the Divi, yes. Yeah, so there's a little bit of that. But Tom, did I answer your question on that?
But then a step further on, hosting the CorronFarm, and then, watching when it expires so we don't screw up and lose our CorronFarm.org.
Yes. So I can't refresh my memory, Tom. Are we taking your domain, because you're in charge of your domain, correct?
Yeah, right now, under that GoDaddy.
Yes. And I would recommend all my clients in the world of digital marketing, your domain name is your most prized possession. And in my opinion, this is my opinion, that it should always be held by the organization and not by me. And the reason why is you never want to hold, and honestly, our company, we're very honest. We would never do this, but you would never want to give somebody that, just because you just don't know. You don't want them to forget, or you don't, and it's your most prized possession. So it should be under your ownership. So the domain should be under you, is my recommendation. If you're not comfortable with that, we certainly can take it on. But, and we do, we have over 30 domains that we're in charge of. And we do that, but I always like to first say, I'm always most comfortable with, letting you be, control your own destiny with that kind of thing.
And then the final thing on that is it is separate under that GoDaddy, and we've paid already for a couple of years for that. So when you're talking costs, it doesn't include that, but it won't be any additional right now.
Right.
That's correct. That's correct. Yep. So just so you know, when you have a website, there's two different things going on. You have one, it's called the domain. The domain is the name of your site. And then when Tom is talking about GoDaddy, he's referring to the domain. Now, the other part of the web is you have what's called hosting. Hosting is where your website lives, and we deal with the hosting. And that's done through, we have servers and things like that we deal with, and we actually watch those servers and the site and the web pages. And the reason why we like to host our clients' websites is because it's a WordPress platform, which basically means that you've heard of hacking, you've heard of that kind of thing. We, because everything is in one spot, we monitor all our websites and we watch them. And so if there ever is an issue, we can address it really quickly, and we can fix the problem. And so we like to host the websites. And so, and then the hosting costs per month. And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, because did we talk about the price for that already?
Yes.
I'm always surprised because normally we have various prices, and I can't remember exactly what I quoted you.
$50.
Yeah, that's right. The $50 is basically the nonprofit. Yes, that's correct. And so it's $50 a month. And so what the $50 a month includes is basically we update your WordPress plugins. We do this it's called SSL certification, which basically means that your web domain will be HTTPS, which stands for secure, which means that Google will automatically like your website, because not only is it SEO friendly, but it's now a secure site. And so the SSL certification is included. And then also, I'll be honest with you, like when it comes to website changes, our clients are our friends. If you come to us and you're like, hey, Ryan, we're in a jam, can you just go into the code and fix this and this? And honestly, this is what I tell people. If it takes under 15 minutes for us to do it, there's no charge, there's no billing. And honestly, and it's not a big deal. And so that's something that kind of comes with the hosting is if you need a little help here and there, we're more than happy to help you out. So let's say let's say we developed the site, and let's say that a year later, you're like, Ryan, I have this really great idea for a new page. How would you do that? And then let's say we do the same thing where I design it, mock it up. And then what we do is we charge $80 an hour is our development fee. And what we do prior to doing that is we will estimate how long the project will cost. So, let's say it takes 2 hours to do it. So then we'll say it's $160. And before we proceed with that page, we will email you and say, hey, to build you this page, it's $160. Is this something you would like to do? And at that point, you can say yay or nay on that. And so we're very open, we're very honest, but we will stick to that. So if, for example, we said it took 2 hours to do it, and it took us 4 hours to do it, well, guess what? We're billing you for 2 because we should have known better. And so we always bill what we estimate. So that's something that we offer and we do. And so that's kind of that. Am I forgetting anything, Tom?
Nope, you got her.
Got her? Okay, fantastic.
Now, is there any upfront development cost?
Okay, so I'm trying, I apologize. I'm trying to recall our conversation we had like 3 months ago.
Oh, yeah, that was a leading question for you. It was, you quoted $500 upfront, a one-time charge.
Right, and didn't I bill already? Did we bill for that or not? I can't remember.
No, you haven't.
I haven't. So then, I said 500. Then that's what it'll be. I apologize. This process is done much differently than I normally do, and with other clients, just because Tom and I are on a really good basis. So Tom, if you told me I said 500, I will stand by that, and I'll actually write it down. So Tom.
I can go pull the paperwork from what Tom sent us.
Okay, that's fine.
And see if it's in there.
I don't know if I sent
in your. I think a couple times back when we first started with this, you had. It's just a matter of finding it out.
Yeah.
Those are the books, but I'll find it later and we'll figure it out.
Well, let me just say that that will be, so upon completion of the website, I will then deliver a $500 invoice
So could I have you send that to my house rather than to the farm?
To you directly?
The invoice, yeah.
Yes, I can do that upon completion. Yep. And we don't start charging hosting until the website is completed as well.
I thought for the setup, you needed that in advance.
Oh, the setup?
Yeah, the $500 or whatever the amount was.
Right. I'll send that to you at the end.
And so just to be clear, the 500 would mean that what we see right now would be live on the web with of course all the corrections to the events and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes. Like basically, so yes, I'm doing this. I'm discounting this a lot just because
Right, that's why I want to get you some money.
Yeah. Don't lose it.
I really enjoy this, and I think this is going to be a really fun project. And this is something. But yes, the $500 is the complete cost of it, and I will not bill until the project is completely done.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yep, and and please don't tell my other clients these kinds of things. I'm doing this just because I'm friends with Tom.
Well, I don't have a problem with getting you money. Like,
no, I'm
right.
totally fine with. I will bill you upon completion. Yep.
Yeah, I just don't want you to. I just want you to know we're not going to stiff you.
Oh well, I know you won't. I believe me. And the only thing I ask is because this project is development time may take a little bit longer compared to other projects, and that is we're just going to do this one on the side if you're fine with that. So the development process could take a couple months rather than usually our turnaround time is around 2 to 3 weeks. This could take a couple months, and the reason why is just because it's more of a side project for us. So when we have extra time in between projects, then we're going to pick this up. Is that okay with you?
I think so. We haven't had a meeting in a while, so
Okay.
we're pretty laid back at this point, but we do need to have a good website.
I would say 2 months max. Like it will be done in 2 months. And Tom, you tell me or whoever how you want me to proceed with the coding of the site. If you want me to use the Divi site, or if you want me to do with the Bootstrap and the PDF. And I will say this, like, I personally believe I think upon looking at the design in the site that we would go with the Bootstrap / ACF site. I think overall you will be happier with the results. And the beauty is, as I told you before, Tom, is people can update it without the fear of breaking, like without breaking the layout. Because I'm telling you what, the one thing about Divi is, and you've probably learned this too, Tom, is that you can click that X button thinking you closed the button and you just deleted an entire section. And it doesn't ask you, are you sure? It just deletes it. And for some people, it can give them a heart attack. But if that does happen, and I will tell you, I'll tell this, you can tell this to anyone. If you ever do something where you break the site, never fear. Each day, your site is backed up on our servers every night. And so we can just go back to the previous day. And so don't ever think that if you break something or something terrible happens that you didn't mean to do, it's not a problem. We just go back one day and we restore the site. And so it's, I always tell that to people because some people are absolutely petrified updating the website on the back end. And I'll tell you, so honestly, at the end of the day, Tom, it doesn't really make a difference, but I'm just telling you from personal preference, but I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. And then for our board members, I'm sitting here trying to think that are going to be viewing this video, what questions would they have? And I have a couple that came to mind. And one is, well, Ryan mentioned that this would be much more viewable on a handheld device, and I've looked at it, and it is this. And I have an iPhone, and I viewed this mock-up on that, and it looks great. The other thing is, excuse me. Ryan mentioned at the beginning, we have a new look, a new logo. Does that mean that I'm retiring the old one? No, but the new logo will be that new logo that's shown there, right there at the top of the page. Yeah, right there. That I've already used on the Constant Contact, and it's easily transferable. So we have a look and feel that's common across all our platforms and stuff. So will I, like I said, would I retire the old logo that Susan? No, that we could use that here and there. But for the most part, this is our new look. And I love the colors in it and the whole formatting. Can you think of any other questions that the board members would have viewing this?
No, not really. I mean, it looks really good and organized. I really like that it's very clear and it just seems really straightforward.
Good.
Our other one was messy.
The other thing I was thinking, well, I didn't see anything about the prairie that we've
that would be under the resources probably.
Established that we could. Some of the change that I might suggest would be, could we highlight that more? And
what are you referring to, Tom? What are you referring to?
Well, I'm just saying that it's a new aspect about what's going on at the Corron farm that perhaps, that we've taken hundreds of acres and not me, but Jack Schuba and the township.
Well, that would go on the page where it talked about the things that we've done.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, all the different events that we've had and, the barn project. And so that would go there.
Go on this page, the news and information page.
Yeah, and highlight it with photos and more explanation of what's going on.
All those boxes are for that he's got there.
And one thing we can do is, this is up to you. We can actually treat this as a blog, meaning they can click on this, read more, and then a new page comes up, and then basically they can see a posting of the actual page. And so the beauty with doing that is that you can expand on the contents of that particular page. Like, instead of having just a paragraph, they click on it and then they can see 10 paragraphs and 3 photos versus, so we can do something like that. If you want, that is very easy. That actually comes out of the box for WordPress. Like, WordPress actually dynamically does that. We can do that, or we can leave it like this, where if they click on more, it just lists more type. But actually, now I think about it, I think it would be nice to have it. You click on that and it forms a new page. It's called a custom post type, is what we call it in our world. But it's basically a brand new page that is basically dedicated to that one particular topic.
Awesome. And then you mentioned SEO, which is search engine optimization.
Yes.
What advantage do we have having you on board with that aspect of
Oh, right. So let me be very clear. So I'm not enhancing your site with SEO. What I'm doing is that would be a separate fee. What I'm doing is I'm implementing best SEO practices into your website. And so basically that means that I'm giving hierarchy to your headline, to your text. I'm making sure it's mobile friendly. We'll run a test to Google to make sure that Google will pass. It passes the Google website speed. We will make sure that the links are active and they are correct. But there is one thing you need to be aware of, and that is, and I'm glad you mentioned. I'm glad you said SEO. So when you propagate, okay, so sorry. Propagating is a fancy way of saying we're pointing to your new website. And so there are going to be some things you need to be aware of. when the day that happens, let's say we don't use this URL link anymore, it's gone. So what's going to happen is when we type in Corron Farms, this is your SEO. So this is it right here. And so in this case, you're okay. But sometimes with other browsers, it lists like about us, all these different features. And so for the first month, as the Google bots are indexing your brand new website, there could be a chance that they could click on blog and it'll go to that page not found site. And the reason why is because the way we named that page doesn't exist anymore. But don't worry, in a few weeks, the Google bots will re-index the website, and then after a month or so, month is about the maximum it takes. It'll index all the pages to the correct new site, and there'll be no issues. But I just like to have people be aware that that could happen for the first month or so. But it's not a big deal, because what happens is that, like, let's say they clicked on a link that doesn't exist, they're going to see this 404 page, and then they're going to click, oh, okay. And then they're going to click back to home, and then they're going to go back to this main page. And so it's just one of those things. It happens, but it's temporary, and and honestly, I say a month. In my experience, it's about 2 weeks, and so that's just something to be aware of. But as far as going back to your question, Tom, for SEO, what we do is we implement best SEO practices. We put alt tags on our photos, and we make sure that those alt tags are mentioning the location. Another thing we do is that we make sure that it's mobile friendly. We make sure that the images are sized appropriately. We make sure that the font is legible. All these kinds of things factor into the Google equation for SEO. And the more you can play Google's game, the better your SEO is. And so the beauty is there's not a lot of competition with your SEO, so there shouldn't be any issues whatsoever. But that's just a few things to keep in mind. But as far as like enhancing your SEO, we're not really working on enhancing it. Rather, we're just implementing best practices.
Perfect.
Yep.
Anything else, Laurel?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. You can stop the recording.